I never thought my life would come to this. Sitting alone in the dim glow of a dying candle, the weight of secrets crushing me like a vice. My name is Linda, and I've spent years building a home with Mark, a man who once set my world on fire. But now, our days are a cold, gray routine. Financial ruin looms over us, bills piling up like a storm ready to break, and desperation has pushed me to the edge of something unthinkable. Late at night, when the world is asleep, a knock at the door changed everything, offering a lifeline wrapped in a temptation I can't ignore. What did I do when faced with a choice that could save us or destroy us forever? Picture this. A quiet evening where the air feels heavier than it should, like it's pressing down on your chest with secrets it refuses to whisper. That's where I am right now, sitting on the edge of my worn-out couch, staring at the flickering light of a candle that's almost burned out. My name's Linda, and I'm 35, caught in the strange middle of life where you're not quite young anymore, but not old enough to claim wisdom either. I've got a story to tell, one that's been simmering beneath the surface for longer than I care to admit. And tonight, for some reason, it feels like the right time to let it spill. I've been married to Mark for almost a decade now. He's 38, a man of steady habits and quiet strength, the kind of person who fills a room without even trying. We met in a way that felt like fate, at a small art gallery downtown, where neither of us knew a thing about the paintings on the walls, but pretended to anyway. He had this way of looking at me, like he could see straight through to the parts of me I kept locked away, and it both thrilled and terrified me. Back then, our life was a canvas of bold strokes. Late nights tangled in sheets, whispered promises in the dark, moments where the world seemed to pause just for us. I can still feel the heat of those early days, the way our connection burned bright, leaving no room for doubt. We'd steal away to hidden corners, letting passion take over in ways I can only describe as a wildfire consuming everything in its path. Even now, thinking about it, there's a warmth that creeps up my spine, a memory of being utterly lost in each other. But time has a way of softening edges, doesn't it? Now, our home in this sleepy suburban neighborhood feels more like a stage than a sanctuary. The walls are lined with photos of happier times, vacations to the coast, holidays with forced smiles, moments captured before the weight of routine settled in. I work as a freelance graphic designer, spending hours hunched over my laptop, crafting images for clients who never seem satisfied. Mark, he's in construction management, always coming home with dust on his boots and exhaustion in his eyes. We've built a life together, brick by brick, but sometimes I catch myself wondering if we've built a cage instead. There's a rhythm to our days, coffee in the morning, small talk over dinner, separate silences as we scroll through our phones at night. It's not bad, not really, but it's not the blaze it once was either. I grew up in a small town a few hours from here, the kind of place where everyone knew your business before you did. My parents were strict, always pushing me to be better, to do more, to never settle. Maybe that's why I've always had this restless streak, this need to chase something bigger, even if I don't know what it is. Moving to the city with Mark felt like breaking free at first, though I can't help but feel like I've traded one set of chains for another. Life with Mark these days isn't the vibrant escape I once dreamed of. It's a grind, a slow slog through bills and broken dreams, and the weight of it all is starting to crush us both. I'm sitting here on this sagging couch, the dim light casting long shadows across the room, and I can't shake the feeling that we're drowning in more than just debt. About a week ago, Mark's old sedan, the beat-up rust bucket he relies on to get to job sites, finally gave out. Just died on the side of the road with a pathetic sputter, leaving him stranded for hours. When he got it towed to the shop, the mechanic hit us with a repair estimate of $2,000. $2,000. We don't have that kind of money lying around. Heck, we barely have enough to cover rent most months. Mark needs that car to keep working, to keep bringing in a paycheck, but staring at that number on the invoice felt like staring into an abyss. I've been picking up extra shifts at the local grocery store, bagging groceries and stocking shelves until my back aches and my feet scream. But it's still not enough. Every penny I earn seems to vanish before I can even count it. swallowed by overdue notices and endless expenses. The tension in our house is thick, like a fog you can't cut through. Mark's been on edge, snapping at me over the smallest things, leaving a dish in the sink, forgetting to turn off a light. I know he doesn't mean it, not really, but each sharp word stings more than the last. I try to stay patient, to remind myself he's just as stressed as I am, but it's hard when I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. The other night, I found myself just standing in the hallway, staring at the closed door to our bedroom, wondering how we got here. How did the man who used to make my heart race with a single glance become someone I'm almost afraid to talk to? I can still picture one moment so clearly it hurts. We were sitting at our worn-out kitchen table, the surface scratched and stained from years of use, with a pile of bills scattered across it like a cruel game of cards. Mark had his face buried in his hands, his shoulders slumped like the weight of the world was pressing down on him. I just sat there, frozen, watching as he muttered under his breath, "I don't know how we're going to make it through this month, Linda. I just don't know." His voice cracked on that last word, and it broke something in me too. I wanted to reach out, to hold him, to tell him we'd figure it out together, but I couldn't move. I felt helpless, like I was fading into the background of our own story. Invisible. The spark that used to light up our nights, those stolen moments of heat and closeness where the "it's late," the kind of late where the world outside feels like it's holding its breath. I'm still on that sagging couch, the candle long since burned out, leaving the room in a dim haze from the streetlight sneaking through the blinds. The quiet is shattered by a soft knock at the door, so faint I almost think I imagined it. My heart gives a little jump, not sure if it's nerves or just the exhaustion playing tricks on me. I glance down the hall toward our bedroom, where I can hear Mark's faint snoring, a steady rhythm that tells me he's out cold after another grueling day. I push myself up, my bare feet cold against the hardwood floor, and shuffle to the door, wondering who could be here at this hour. I crack it open, and there they are. Jake and Ethan, two of Mark's co-workers from the construction site. I've met them a handful of times at company picnics and the occasional after-work drink, enough to know their faces and their easy banter. Jake's got that charming grin, the kind that could talk anyone into anything, while Ethan's quieter, always hanging back with a look in his eyes I can never quite read. They're standing there on my porch, their breath visible in the chilly night air, and I feel a prickle of unease. "Hey, Linda," Jake says, his voice low, almost a whisper, like he's already aware of the sleeping house behind me. "Mind if we come in for a sec? Won't take long." I hesitate, my hand still on the doorframe, but something in his tone, urgent yet careful, makes me step aside and let them in. They slip into the living room, their boots scuffing softly against the floor, and I gesture toward the couch out of habit. "Take a seat," I say, my voice barely above a murmur, mindful of not waking Mark. But they don't sit. Jake shakes his head with a polite smile, and Ethan just stands there, a step behind, his hands shoved deep into his jacket pockets, his eyes fixed on some invisible spot on the wall. I cross my arms, suddenly hyper-aware of my faded pajamas and the messy bun on top of my head. "So, what's this about?" I ask, trying to keep my tone light, though my stomach's already knotting up. Jake's smile falters just a fraction, not quite reaching his eyes this time, and I know right then that whatever's coming, it's not good. "How you holding up, Linda?" he starts, his voice still soft, almost too gentle. I blink at him, caught off guard by the question. "I'm fine," I say slowly, though the word feels like a lie even as it leaves my lips. He nods like he expected that answer, then glances at Ethan, who shifts his weight from one foot to the other, still avoiding my gaze. There's a beat of silence, heavy and suffocating, before Jake speaks again. "We heard about the car trouble. Mark mentioned the repair bill at work the other day. Sounds like a real mess." My chest tightens at the mention of it, that $2,000 hole we can't climb out of. I nod, not trusting my voice, waiting for whatever comes next. "We want to help," Jake says. And for a split second, relief washes over me. A loan, maybe? A favor? Something to get us through this nightmare? But then I see the way his jaw tightens, the way Ethan's shoulders hunch just a little more, and I know there's a catch before he even says it. We've got $3,000, Linda. Cash. More than enough to fix the car, cover some bills, get you guys back on your feet. My breath catches, my mind racing with the possibility of that kind of money, that kind of breathing room. But then Jake's next words hit me like a punch to the gut. But we're not just giving it away. We've got a request. We'd like to spend the night with you, both of us, in a way that's personal, real close. The room spins for a moment, the air around me growing thick and suffocating as Jake's words hang there, raw and unapologetic. My mind stumbles over itself, trying to process what he's just laid out. $3,000, a lifeline, but at a cost that makes my skin crawl and my heart pound in a way I can't quite name. I stand frozen for a moment, my arms still crossed tight over my chest, as if they can shield me from the weight of this decision. I mumble something incoherent, maybe a request for them to repeat themselves, though I heard every word clear as day. Jake doesn't say it again. He doesn't need to. Instead, he gives me a small, almost sympathetic nod and says, "We'll give you a minute to think it over. We'll be outside." With that, he and Ethan turn and step back onto the porch, the door clicking shut behind them with a finality that echoes in my ears. I'm alone now in the dim living room, the silence pressing in harder than ever. My bare feet feel like ice against the hardwood floor as I start pacing, back and forth, my steps uneven and restless. My mind is a storm, a chaotic swirl of desperation and disgust, of need and shame. I think about Mark, just down the hall, sleeping soundly, oblivious to the grenade that's just been tossed into our lives. I can still see him as he was a few days ago, sitting at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, the defeat in his posture so heavy it nearly broke me. He's been working himself to the bone, coming home with calloused hands and a weariness that no amount of sleep can fix. He's been carrying so much for us, trying to keep our heads above water, and here I am, contemplating something that could shatter everything we've built. I stop pacing for a moment, my gaze drifting to the stack of bills on the coffee table, their edges curling from being handled too many times. Overdue notices, final warnings, numbers that haunt my every waking moment. And then there's the car, sitting useless in the driveway, a rusty reminder of how close we are to losing even the basics. If we can't fix it, Mark can't get to work. If he can't work, we can't pay rent. If we can't pay rent, I don't even want to finish that thought. The fear of losing what little stability we have left claws at me, sharp and relentless, making my chest ache with every breath. But it's not just about the money. I hate admitting this, even to myself, but there's another layer to this mess, one that's uglier, more selfish. I think about how long it's been since I felt anything other than numb, since I felt desired, wanted, alive in a way that wasn't just going through the motions. Life with Mark used to be a fire, a heat that consumed us both, but now it's ash, cold and scattered. And as much as I loathe myself for it, part of me is tempted by what Jake and Ethan are offering, not just the cash, but the chance to feel something again, to step outside this cage of routine and responsibility, even if it's just for a fleeting, forbidden moment. It's like a dark whisper in the back of my mind, tempting me to chase a spark, no matter how wrong it is. I glance down the hall toward our bedroom, the faint sound of Mark's snoring still drifting through the quiet. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and bitter, as I imagine him waking up to find out what I'm even considering. What would he think of me? Would he see me as a traitor? Someone who threw away our vows for a quick fix? Or would he understand, in some twisted way, that I'm doing this for us, for our survival? I shake my head, trying to push those thoughts away, but they cling like smoke, clouding everything. My hands are trembling now, and I don't even realize it until I catch myself gripping the edge of the couch, my knuckles pale from the pressure. I move to the window, my steps slow and deliberate, as if I'm walking through water. I peek through the blinds, watching Jake and Ethan standing there on the porch, their silhouettes barely visible in the dim glow of the streetlight. My breath fogs up the glass for a moment, and I wipe it away with a shaky hand, my mind still reeling from the choice I'm about to make. I know I shouldn't. I know it's wrong on every level, but the weight of our struggles, the lure of feeling something, anything beyond this endless gray, it's pulling me under. I take a deep breath, the cold air stinging my lungs, and before I can talk myself out of it, I open the door again. "Hey," I say, my voice barely a whisper, but it's enough. Jake turns first, his eyes searching mine, while Ethan lingers a step behind, his expression still unreadable. "Come back in," I manage, stepping aside to let them through. The air feels thicker now, charged with something I can't name, as they cross the threshold once more. I don't look at them directly. I can't. Instead, I focus on the floor, on the scuffed-up hardwood beneath my feet, as I gesture toward the hallway. "This way," I murmur, leading them toward the guest bedroom at the far end of the house, as far from Mark's sleeping form as I can get. Every step feels heavier, like I'm wading through quicksand, my heart hammering so loud I'm convinced they can hear it echoing in the silence. We reach the door to the guest room, and I hesitate for just a split second before pushing it open. The hinges creak softly, a sound that feels deafening in the stillness of the night. I step inside, and they follow, the space suddenly feeling too small, too intimate. I turn to close the door behind us, and the click of the latch is like a gunshot in my mind, sealing me into this moment I can't take back. My fingers linger on the doorknob, trembling, as I try to steady my breathing. I can feel their presence behind me, the weight of their expectations, and it's suffocating. But beneath that, there's something else. A flicker of something I haven't felt in years. A dangerous kind of thrill that makes my skin prickle. I don't want to think too much about what's happening, about the lines I'm crossing. Instead, I let myself get swept up in the current, focusing on the rush of emotions crashing over me. There's guilt, sharp and biting, clawing at the edges of my mind, reminding me of the man sleeping just down the hall who trusts me, who needs me. There's fear, too, a cold dread that this will unravel everything I've fought to hold together. But there's also this unexpected excitement, a pulse of energy I thought I'd lost forever. For the first time in so long, I feel seen, desired, like I'm not just a shadow fading into the background of my own life. It's like I'm reclaiming a piece of myself, a part I buried under years of routine and resignation. And that feeling, it's intoxicating, even as it terrifies me. The room is dim, lit only by the faint moonlight slipping through the cracked blinds, casting long, jagged shadows across the walls. The old bed frame groans under the slightest movement, a sound that cuts through the quiet like a confession. I catch the faint scent of Jake's cologne, something earthy and warm, lingering in the air like a memory I can't place. His easy confidence fills the space, a stark contrast to Ethan's quiet intensity, the way he holds himself with a kind of restraint that feels almost palpable. It's a strange balance, their energies pulling at me in different ways, and I let myself focus on that instead of the storm raging inside me. I push thoughts of Mark out of my head, locking them away somewhere I can't reach, and anchor myself in the here and now. This moment, this fleeting escape, it's all I allow myself to feel. It's like stepping out of a fog, like breathing for the first time in ages, and I cling to that sensation with everything I have. Time seems to stretch, each second heavier than the last, and it lasts. Here I am, sitting on the edge of the guest bed, the thin mattress dipping slightly under my weight, as the quiet of the house wraps around me like a heavy blanket. In my hands, there's an envelope, thick with cash, $3,000 to be exact. It feels heavier than it should, like it's not just paper and ink, but the weight of every choice I made in that dim, moonlit room just hours ago. My fingers tremble as I trace the edges of the envelope, the reality of what I've done sinking in deeper with every breath. I can still feel the echoes of that night, the charged air, the unspoken tension that hung between us as boundaries blurred into something I never thought I'd cross. It wasn't just a transaction. It was a moment where I let myself fall into a current I couldn't control. A rush of feeling that both awakened and shattered me. I hear a faint sound from down the hall. Mark stirring in our bedroom. My heart lurches into my throat, panic gripping me like a vice. What if he wakes up? What if he walks in here and sees this envelope, sees the guilt written all over my face? My mind races with worst-case scenarios, each one more suffocating than the last. I can't let him find out. Not now, not ever. With shaky hands, I yank open the drawer of the old nightstand beside the bed, the wood scraping loudly in the stillness. I shove the envelope beneath a pile of old clothes, forgotten t-shirts and mismatched socks, hiding it as if burying a secret can erase what's already been done. My breath comes in short, uneven gasps as I shut the drawer, my mind already spinning with excuses. If he asks, I'll say I picked up an extra freelance gig. If he presses, I'll say a friend owed me money. Anything to keep the truth locked away. The next morning, I'm up before the sun, standing in the kitchen with the familiar scent of coffee brewing in the air. I'm going through the motions, making breakfast for Mark like I always do, eggs sizzling in the pan, toast popping up with a soft ding. But every move feels mechanical, like I'm a puppet on strings, pretending everything's normal when nothing is. I can barely look at him when he shuffles in, his hair mussed from sleep, his voice rough as he mumbles a good morning. I force a smile, but it feels brittle, like it might crack if I hold it too long. My eyes keep darting to the hallway, to the guest room door, as if the secret I've hidden there might somehow spill out on its own. Mark doesn't notice, or at least I don't think he does. He's too busy scrolling through his phone, sipping his coffee, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. Guilt gnaws at me with every passing second, a relentless ache that sits heavy in my chest. It's there in the way my hands shake as I pour orange juice, in the way I flinch when Mark's chair scrapes against the floor. I keep replaying the night in my head, the choices I made, the way I let myself get swept up in a moment that felt both wrong and electric. I betrayed him, even if he doesn't know it, and that betrayal cuts deeper than I ever imagined it could. I think about the trust we've built over the years, the quiet strength of our partnership, and I wonder if I've shattered it beyond repair. But beneath that guilt, there's something else, a strange, conflicting sense of empowerment that I can't shake. For the first time in so long, I took control of our situation. I found a way out of the suffocating weight of our debts, even if it was a path I never thought I'd walk. It's a bitter kind of strength, tainted by regret, but it's there, pulsing beneath the surface, reminding me that I did something, anything, to keep us afloat. Later that day, I take the money, carefully pulled from its hiding spot, and pay for the car repairs. I stand at the mechanic's shop, counting out the bills with a calm I don't feel, handing them over as if they're "don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.